I'm going to talk to you guys today about how to handle being approached by loose dogs. Fairly common here in Socorro. I think everyone on the call is from Socorro, but if not, you're probably on this call because you've experienced it and it's relevant wherever you are. Some of you, I think, know me, others might not. I'm Rhiannon. I have a dog training business here in town. I travel to TRC, willing to travel up north as well. So pretty much the middle of New Mexico. I'm happy to help out. I did go to New Mexico Tech. I got a PhD in geophysics, so quite different from dog training, but a lot of the research skills and stuff apply. So it's a lot more rewarding, I found. So we'll get started. Let's see. Awesome. I'm gonna start with a question. So, do you guys know that dogs are they prey or predatory?
Both.
Yeah, they're both.
Both.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of if you think it might be easier to think of like cats. So cats, kill rabbits and birds and stuff, but then you have things like dogs and coyotes who can go after them as well. And so dogs are very similar. They loose dogs can face problems with mountain lions and wolves and coyotes and stuff too. So that'll be really important to keep in mind as we go through this. So just a warning, I'm using a lot of videos, and some of them are graphic. So if you're a little squeamish or things just make your blood run cold, mute and turn away. But it's I think it's helpful to see real life examples. So let's start with a basic understanding of dogs. So why might dogs attack? Any ideas?
Fear.
Fear? Anyone else? All right, we'll get into it. Right. What was that?
Jealousy?
Possibly. That could be a possibility. So jealousy, I think, is more of a human feeling.
Okay.
But dogs can do what we call resource guarding. And so if they find someone's affection to be, safety and another dog is coming into that space, then yes, that could be what we perceive as jealousy. Um, but yeah, there could be medical conditions like neurological issues, head or brain injuries, other physical pain, diseases like rabies. There's some new research that possibly links some aggression cases to gut health. And then, as someone else mentioned, fear, or the street dogs might be hungry. They might perceive that you have something really valuable, and they might try to come at you for that. Nurture. So the whole nature versus nurture. Is it people? Is it the dog? So I'm not going to make us watch this whole thing, but I'm going to point out some things. And it's pretty sad. It was hard for me to watch. There's no actual physical attacks in this video, but the treatment of the dog is pretty sad. So this is just an example. Let me know if you have a hard time hearing it or hearing me. I'm going to try to see how this goes. So this dog, these are the owners. Seems like a pretty typical pup. Important to note that these are the owners. Seems to be going well so far. And then you hear him yelling at the dog. I might have missed it, but he kicked the dog. So this dog is not in the best of hands.
I'm not really seeing any film. Why am I not seeing this?
Are other people not seeing the film?
I'm seeing it.
You're seeing
I'm
it?
seeing it.
Hmm.
And who is it
Okay.
that's
All right. I needed to make some changes. Very good. Thank you.
okay? And this will be recorded too. So if you're not able to figure it out, I'll make sure that you get the recording as well. So the dog is alert. He's watching this person. Not too bad, dog jump on you, but didn't use his teeth or continue to go at you. Um, Now the dog is a bit more intent. But again, I believe he just kind of wants to give an excited greeting. He's still kind of curious. That head movement indicates kind of he's sniffing. Fine with this person. So now is when I want you to remember the whole prey versus predator thing and watch how this I think it's a young lady, maybe a teenager, watch how she acts compared to the other people and why might this dog be more focused on her. So she's backing away. She's obviously very nervous. It's hard to know if this dog is just still curious or if he's just really sensitive to that kind of um, lacking of confidence kind of vibe that she's giving off. Um, I think this might be the owner. That might be part of why he's so okay with her just being there. And then this person is kind of giving sideways body language, not making direct eye contact, a lot more loose. Whereas this girl, she's definitely getting this dog's attention. Um, and then the owners don't make it any easier. They just don't really know how to handle the situation. They might even think it's funny. I see that a lot, which is unfortunate. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. I think he nipped or something, and now you see this guy just absolutely wailing on this dog, which is important because up until this point, we've just seen this dog kind of be intent and focused and maybe a little too excited with greetings and not really understand how to interact with strangers. Now, the owner is introducing a very negative feeling, a very negative experience in the presence of these other people. And so, this girl that's been so terrified, he's been so focused on her. What do you think the association is going to be? So even though the guy is giving the physical pain and discomfort to the dog is more than likely associating that stranger with that negative feeling rather than the owner. So and then we can go on later. We can see that the interactions with people become a lot more aggressive. So it actually nips and rips something out of her hand. Um, so just kind of highlights how things can progress, and that a lot of times it can be the owners and not the breed. Um, and I do believe, unfortunately, that this dog did go on to kill someone, and the owners have been put in jail. Then there's the nature aspect. Dogs evolved from really friendly wolves, so it's literally in the DNA of dogs to be friendly towards humans. Um, However, there can be genetic mutations or breeding of unfriendly dogs, so that is something to keep in mind. It can cause decreases in friendliness towards humans. It's suspected to be a very small percentage of the population at this point, but breed can play a role in different types of aggression and reasons they might attack or come at you. Some breeds are more prone to dog conflict, and some dogs have a higher sense of stranger danger with people. So, for example, German Shepherds, they are bred to be protectors of a flock. They herd to keep everyone together, but they also guard against perceived threats. So, that word perceived is really important. So, what a dog might see as being a threat, we might not. And so, it's really important to kind of try to see from the dog's point of view. And so this is an example of that. And so this is a German Shepherd, actually a police dog. And you'll see in this video, I'll point it out, but there are a ton of signs that this dog is super uncomfortable.
Octane. John Best with the Marshall, Texas Police Department is getting to know his new partner. Pedro, a 15-month-old purebred German Shepherd, is 65 pounds of muscle, ready and able to take down criminals. The plan: to meet John Gordon, a television reporter, and his crew at a baseball field where they will videotape Best and Pedro together.
He was playful with me, but at that time, I did not know his personality.
John Gordon makes a request that shakes.
Okay, so I want you to really pay attention to the dog, and see if you can notice any kinds of signs of it being uncomfortable. And later you'll hear the police officer say that he felt the dog was doing fine. And I just want to say the dog is not doing fine. This entire time that this reporter is close, he is not doing fine.
Everything.
So direct eye contact, ears pinned back, you'll see lip licking, you'll see the dog kind of being stiff and frozen. All of those are signs that the dog is very uncomfortable and does not want this reporter in his space at all.
Wants to get up close and personal with Pedro.
I felt like it was going to be okay for the two to meet.
Although he's agreed, Officer Best keeps Pedro on a leash with a choke collar.
And that's another thing. He's using a choke collar. The leash is very short, very tight, and so that's adding physical tension to the dog, which can lead to the mental tension. And so it's just he feels extra trapped and confined, which is just not a good situation for any dog to be in. No dog likes that. A lot of dogs just do not like faces near theirs, especially strangers. And you'll see the
Around the dog's neck.
results of that.
Pedro was doing great. I was kneeling
was
down.
not doing
He was
great.
sitting beside me. Mr. Gordon was kneeling down on the other side, and everything was just as it should have been.
All seems well until the news reporter puts both hands on the police dog's throat and then repositions himself to get even closer.
You can see how tense the dog is.
Over Pedro, and that's a dominating position in the animal world.
Then Pedro makes a move that shocks everyone.
So, in my opinion, the dog reacted appropriately. It wasn't an aggressive bite. It was a, hey, get away from me. I'm not comfortable. I gave you all the signs that you ignored. I didn't know what else to do. So, in my opinion, no one should have been shocked that this happened. So just keep in mind the dog's perspective, again, how the dog might be feeling. Even though dogs are mostly friendly towards humans, they still have a personal bubble, personal space bubble that a lot of times gets ignored because people don't understand dogs. Another reason dogs can attack is if there's one, even just one aggressor, one dog that's ready to go, it can kind of be a contagious energy and cause other ones to join in. In this video, I believe this guy ends up at least in the hospital. I'm not sure. Oh, it does say he does end up dying, which is very tragic. And I've seen other videos where dogs will be walking with their person and another dog or two will come and attack, and then the pet dog will actually turn on the human, on their owner, because of this kind of contagious pack mentality energy. So that's another thing to be aware of. And so we'll see that in this video.
Pure terror as a bike rider is set upon.
So there's this first one
of vicious pit bulls.
coming in.
46-year-old Chris Culbertson was riding through his neighborhood when two menacing dogs began circling him. He loses his balance, and when he falls, 5 more dogs who escape out of a hole in the fence come at him.
So the first
from all
one, the
sides.
second one
He
joins
tries
in, the third
to
one.
fight them
So you
off,
can see
but
how
they're in a frenzy
it can
and
escalate.
drag him away.
Um,
The attack lasts.
So just something to keep in mind. Once one starts, it can be very easy for this cascading effect for all of them to kind of get into a frenzy.
Pure terror.
Okay, so getting into what to do about it. So we'll start with some kind of prevention. Some of these videos might have some instances where the dog is already nipping and biting, but it's not a full-on attack. So it's still kind of more of the prevention. So don't act like prey. So you don't want to run, you don't want to cower and make yourself small. You don't want to be the first to back away. You want to kind of stand your ground as best you can. Don't scream. High-pitched screaming sounds can sound a lot like prey. But you can use a strong, confident, loud voice to yell to them to back up, go away, or even the shh sound. If you've ever seen the dog whisperer, he does that a lot in training. I don't recommend using that in training very much. But in these kind of situations, I've used it on the streets and it's helped keep a dog away. They weren't right up on me yet, but they were at a distance and they were starting to walk towards me, and I used that noise and it stopped them in their tracks. So it can be a first line of defense, something to try. And so these are two examples of people acting like prey.
While
I
spoke with,
think
tell us the
this one starts
Impelling
around here.
bar. The attack captured on video. Security cam footage shows 4 teens walking down the street when a dog off its leash comes from this yard and starts
They back
attacking
away,
boys.
they start
They
running.
told the dog to stop, but it didn't.
My thought.
So, if they maybe if they would have just stood still, it might have ended differently. But as soon as they started running, whether or not the dog thought they were prey, or if they thought that it was a game, it's hard to tell, but it could have ended differently if they might have just stood still. And then here's another one. This guy is out early in the morning for a walk, and he gets approached by 2 dogs.
Now to breaking news, 2 dogs.
And
The details in the video. They believe that he was out for a morning.
Sorry, where does I'm just
Or
trying
was this
to
live
interest
from
of
that
time because I have a
scene?
lot of
The video
videos, so I'm just trying to
is
find.
Getting attacked by a dog while walking
go.
through a Northwest Oklahoma City neighborhood.
Retreat. This home surveillance video.
So he's
then
backing
shows
up.
Dogs, pit bulls.
He's acting
run across the
nervous,
street and approach
flailing
the
his
man.
arms.
He backs up towards the house, later batting them away, and then he was attacked.
So it was very brief, but you could see that moment where he was standing his ground a little bit. They kind of were backing away as he was punching them in the face. But then as soon as he started backing away, then they took over. So just kind of try to keep in mind, I know it can be a very scary situation, but try to have a more of a confident predator mindset.
Now to breaking.
And also, if you have a dog and you're out and a dog approaches and they're not running full speed, not snarling right away, don't make your dog look like prey. It can be very natural to pull up on your dog's leash and try to get them away and back away. But sometimes the best thing you can do, especially if it's a similar sized dog, like in this situation, is to actually keep slack in the leash, and in some cases even drop the leash, because that tension on the leash can really make a difference. And I've seen it personally with my own dogs. It can be very counterintuitive. It can be very hard to make that decision. But this is a situation where
News
it might have
tonight,
ended
a warning
differently.
about a pack of dogs right here that
It might have ended differently if this gentleman hadn't pulled so hard on his dog, because when he did that, not only did he add tension to the whole situation, he took his dog's body language. He really hindered his dog's body language. So his dog was unable to stand confidently, and he inadvertently made his dog seem weak. And that's when the others took advantage.
Surveillance cameras captured
He's
it all.
pulling,
Here you see the 4 loose dogs surround Steve Weaver and his dog Thunder on
and they're
Beeberry
right
Court.
there,
Then
very subtly, that he made his dog take a step back, and that's when the other ones moved forward. So, and it can be even harder when you're outnumbered. There are several loose dogs here, and it's just him and his one dog. Dogs do kind of have a sense of math. They can count, they can tell who has the upper hand in terms of numbers. So it's a tricky situation, but if you can just kind of stay calm and don't make your dog look like prey. And that includes picking up a small dog and holding them way up high and then spinning around. We'll see some examples of that as well. And I'll give some examples of what you can do instead.
Box 35.
Also, even though you want to be more of a predator, more confident than the loose dog seems to be, you don't want to be overly threatening. So don't make direct eye contact. I know that can be really hard because you want to keep an eye on where that dog is, what they're going to do, but try to just look at them as a whole rather than their eyes. Don't run at them. Excuse me. Not used to talking this much. So don't run at the dog. I've definitely kind of stomped in the direction of the dog, just to show them that I'm not going to back down. It's mostly worked. They still tend to they might still run kind of towards you, but they've never come and actually latched on. I'm sorry. Excuse me. So don't wave your arms. And if the dog seems like it wants food, or is interested in treats, don't directly hand the treats or food to them. You kind of want to toss it back away from you, behind the dog, so that they turn and go to that and gives you time to move on. And here's an example of a guy. I don't know why it always starts there. So here at first, you'll see he's actually doing a pretty good job. He's kind of sideways. He's not making direct eye contact. He's able to kind of move freely. And I believe that if he would have just kept moving, everything would have been fine. But as you'll see here in a second, he's making all these weird, fast movements that really get these dogs riled up. So you don't want to come off as being threatening. He does end up just walking away. He doesn't get bitten here, but again, he could have just walked away. I think in that situation, he didn't have to do all these theatrics. So if you're out and about, use your surroundings. So here you'll see he's being chased by what appears to be a German Shepherd. And he was actually lucky there was a driver in the car and she honked the horn. And so the dog's like, all right, not exciting anymore. And so he can slowly get down and go on his way. So using your surroundings can be really helpful. In these kind of situations, you might damage a car or something, but honestly, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission in these kind of situations. It's much better to have to file an insurance claim rather than have a hospital bill, a trip to the hospital for a bite. So use your surroundings when you can. This one, I don't think I really need to play the video. You can kind of see there's a dog here. Postal worker jumped on the back of this truck. But I really love this image because it shows so many different ways that you can use your surroundings. So say you're walking and it's just you. You could, if you're physically able, jump up on the thing. Maybe you know this neighbor and they don't have a dog, but they have a nice fenced in yard and their gate isn't locked. You can run in their yard or get there as quickly as you can. If you have a small dog with you or even a small child that you're able to pick up, you can place them in there first if you want. It kind of depends on your style. You might want to take the airline advice of help yourself first, but with this, it kind of goes so fast that you might have a better chance of helping a smaller animal or child first. You could also place them in the garbage can. I know that sounds kind of gross, but you get the small dog or child out of sight. They might be safer in the garbage can. You could use the garbage can to kind of block between you and the dog. So a lot of different things that you can use in your environment. picking up sticks, rocks, things like that as well. And we'll see some examples of that as we go through. Another one is if you're running or cycling. So this person is cycling, stop moving fast. Especially in the Southwest, we have a lot of herding breeds, and chasing fast things is really fun. So stop moving fast. That takes the fun out of it. That takes the prey element out of it.
You're walking with a dog and another dog tries to attack.
And then also keeping in mind some breed knowledge. And so you'll see this is a Great Pyrenees type of dog. There's actually 3 of them in this video. And what might be their motivators. So he's cycling along. Dogs are barking. One's running out at him. So he uses a deep, loud voice. He stops moving fast. He's backing off a little bit, but picks up a rock. And then you'll notice the herd has moved away. And so that's the motivator for this kind of dog. They're trying to protect their flock. There's more distance now between him and their flock. And so now the perceived threat is gone. And so they are able to more easily disengage. So this is a case of a jogger. So again, you want to try to stop moving fast, but also this guy could have a little bit more situational awareness.
This is
So-
a surveillance video sent to me by a friend of mine. He asked me to post this.
You'll
on
see the
my
jogger
YouTube
come
channel
from back
to show
here.
People, especially runners.
And as soon as
why
he
they
gets
should
to
be really
about
cautious
here,
when running past
the dog
somebody and
starts
their
freaking
dog.
out. And so when the dog starts freaking out, if you're the jogger, you might think, okay, maybe I should just walk. I should slow down and just walk. But he doesn't. And this lady, she does her best to keep this dog under control. But it ends up slipping out of the leash. So leash and the muzzle come off. And now he's acting like prey. So if you're out and about, I know sometimes when you're jogging or moving fast, you're kind of in the zone, you're kind of meditating and you don't notice everything, but try to be aware and how you can help yourself in these kind of situations. And he does eventually jump over this fence, so he does end up using his environment a little bit as well. So just something to keep in mind there as well. Another thing you can do is use deterrence. And so in this one, you'll see a dog, it's an unprovoked attack on several people. I think this dog goes on to injure over 20 people. It's just kind of on a rampage, not really sure what's going on there. But this shows how you can use ordinary objects. So comes up from behind, just bites this person. They have some sort of bag that they're fighting the dog off with. And then you'll see it eyes up another person. She backs off. And then it looks like maybe an umbrella she uses to keep between her and the dog. And it decides that it doesn't want to fight that hard. So things on your person, if you have a purse, there's another video we'll see in a bit where they use a jacket. The dog is biting their jacket and they just let the dog take the jacket. So things like that can come in handy. Be creative with what you already have on your person. Then you can start using specific tools. So this guy is on his bicycle and he has an air horn. And you'll see the dog come from over here. It's kind of grainy, but there it is.
That'll make you think twice, won't it?
So dog stops in its track. It was a little nervous. That paw raise is a sign of uncertainty. So he was just like, whoa, what was that? So more than likely this dog was just like, oh, that thing's moving fast. This is going to be fun. I want to chase. So it was probably more of a playful intention on the dog's part, but once it heard that unfamiliar, abrupt, loud sound, it was like, this isn't fun anymore. so you can carry an air horn. You can also use different kinds of sprays. I don't know why this video is upside down and PowerPoint wouldn't let me flip it the right side up. Let me flip it. So you still get the point. So this dog's coming in pretty confidently. And it gets sprayed. And off it goes. The guy, I don't want to deal with that. So and then this is the same cyclist from before. He has a whole channel.
Wow, look at all these dogs. Dang. My bear spray out.
So he's actually using bear
Dogs.
spray. There are a
Get
few
back.
different ones.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no.
first one gets a little too
Right.
close.
Bunch of dogs. Got that. One's got a broken leg. Man. My bear spray. Back. Back.
And so that's also where that pack mentality can come into play as well. So he deterred two that might have, you know, engaged, and the others kind of followed their lead, was like, yeah, okay, not worth it. And he goes on to explain later how he had his bear spray and the air horn, and he chose to use the spray because there were so many dogs that if the air horn wasn't a strong enough deterrent, then he would have been significantly outnumbered and it would not have gone well for him. So he decided to just take it to that highest level that he had on him right away, and I think that was the smart decision, because you don't want to become antagonistic. So they might have, in those numbers, they might have felt that the air horn was more of a reason to defend or attack, whereas the bear spray was a more clear signal to them. You can also use stun guns. And so in this one, you'll see that just the sound, and I think also in this one at the end, you'll see the dog shake its head. I think that they're really sensitive to electricity. So a lot of times dogs can feel electricity when a storm comes, even if there's no lightning, they can feel the static buildup. And so I think it also feels that. But hopefully you'll never have to actually use the stun gun on a dog, but even just the sound can be a deterrent.
Thought you said he was bad. Very good. Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
So that one was a setup, just testing it out. So this one she does again, she tests it out with her own dog. I have a few things to say about this video. We'll get to it.
Well,
So you can
just to
see
make sure no Great Danes are.
how effective it is. I guess they had been attacked by a Great Dane.
So it's a flashlight. Oh, and then it is you ready?
So I don't agree with it being funny or cute. But it demonstrates the effectiveness. The dogs just want to stay away from it. So with that being said, when using these kind of deterrents, consider your own dog, especially if you're using the pepper spray based sprays. They do make a citronella based one that also seems to be pretty effective. And those loud air horns and stun gun things, just make sure you're not inadvertently terrifying your dog and then they no longer want to go on a walk, or worse, they become the aggressive dogs that you're trying to avoid out of fear. And so there are ways that you can slowly desensitize your dog to these kinds of things. Just something to keep in mind. Other deterrents, sticks. I've seen people walking around various locations with like long broom handles or baseball bats. They actually make stun gun batons, so it's also like a stick with the stun at the end. You can use other kinds of sprays. I've heard of people using vinegar. Someone posted on my Facebook post about using ammonia mixed with water, and that's worked for them as a cyclist for 15 years in town. not just against dogs, but other animals that might approach. And then they make other sound deterrents, some kind of ultrasonic sound things, but I didn't go into those in this presentation. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a knowledge test. So I want to hear how you guys think these people handled the situation. Any thoughts? How you think they did?
I would guess from what we just perhaps learned was to be the aggressor in a calm way and to hold your whatever, just stay there and be firm. Is that correct?
So they stopped moving. I couldn't really tell if they were just kind of freaked out, or if their bike malfunctioned and they couldn't get it started again. But the second person, the passenger, they used their jacket. The dogs grabbed their jacket. They let it go, and that seemed to the dogs were like, "Whoa, what just happened? We won," and it kind of. And there were still a couple that were nipping, biting. Maybe the driver could have gotten off the bike a little sooner, but once he did, then and made those forward motions towards the dogs, even before he picked up the rock and made loud sounds, they knew that he meant business. So you're right. You want to be confident and you want to come off as having the stronger energy, that you're not going to back down, that you're not going to be easy prey. So I think they handled it really well. Maybe, like I said, the driver could have gotten off the bike a little sooner to help the passenger, because it seemed like the passenger was taking the brunt of the attack. All right, so in this one, let me know what you guys would do differently. And for context, so this video is actually, there's a little bit longer of a version out there. So this lady was out and she saw this brown dog on the street and she called it over to her. And then her dog, I don't know, I guess the door wasn't latched and her dog came out. And so that's where we're picking up on this video. So thoughts, what would you guys do differently, if anything?
Having lived through that with a little dog years ago that I picked up, and the pit bull went after us, and the little dog ran under the car, thankfully, and I ended up with my 4 stitches. But what do you do? How do you keep them from killing your dog?
Yeah. So first I would say maybe she shouldn't have called the strange dog over to her
Right.
in the first place. I know that's not always the situation. You're not always inviting a strange dog into your space. Also, a lot of times it's natural for us to go into a protector mode and grab our own dog. But if the dog that's attacking is clearly more interested in your dog, it might actually be better for you to grab the aggressor instead of your own dog. As long as you can do so safely. If they have a collar, grab them firmly behind the neck in a way that you can kind of keep at an arm's distance, keep them away from you. And then your dog, as long as you're not super worried about your dog totally running off, you allow your dog the freedom to hide or find a safe spot, like you said, under a truck or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It can be really hard. She didn't really seem to have any place where she could safely place her dog. She she kind of screamed and danced around a little bit more than maybe I would have. I probably would have tried to act a little bit more like that delivery person. Kind of showed stronger energy and maybe even like held my dog like if it was small enough over my head like this and just stomped forward and yelled rather than screamed.
We're not late.
But yeah, definitely call for help in some way. So and then this is I know I asked a question, but I think you guys will pick up on it. It's kind of going off of that last one. So you'll see this guy leaving
I
his
know this is not full crap,
dog.
but full crap. She's telling you to not pick up the dog. She just said now, call for help. That is one. When I'm thinking, what? If you're in the middle of, she probably hear me.
And so he's trying to protect his dog. Whereas instead,
I don't know.
maybe if he had
I
let
don't know
his
about
dog
this.
go and grabbed the aggressor,
My
it
phone's
wouldn't
dirty.
have gotten to his dog in the first place. And you can see at the end where he kind of switches over to focusing on that other dog, but still holding on to his own. And it's hard to know, maybe his dog also is reactive and might have done damage and he didn't want that. So it's hard to know. But and then this one kind of just shows that it's a young kid out with two small dogs. He tries to get them to safety, but he's not able to in time. And I don't know if he does it on purpose or if they just slip out of the leash, but once they do, it's able to run away. It does end up redirecting to the other small one because it got too close, but there was someone nearby that was able to help. So just something to keep in mind that your dog might actually be safer if you drop the leash and let them go, because they're faster than we are, and they might be faster than the dog that's trying to get them. So now if the worst case happens, we're going to talk a little bit about some defensive measures, how you might be able to defend yourself a little bit. So you can fight back. We saw a couple videos where people did. You can punch them in the nose.
Punch them in the nose.
Use closed fists. You want to protect your fingers. You can put them in more sensitive areas like their throat
like a
or
webinar
face.
on what to do.
Yell for help.
By loose dogs.
You might need to scream at this point, especially if if you're more soft-spoken, you have a softer voice that doesn't really care. Still try to yell and be a bit more confident if you can, but if you absolutely have to, at this point, you may need to scream. Try not to end up on the ground. If you do, try to get into a fetal position, put your hands over your neck and covering your face as much as possible.
Yeah.
And put your arms and legs in as much as you can. If you feel like it's just you and a dog that you feel like you could manage relatively well, you might try to wrestle it and pin it to the ground and immobilize its head so that it can't use its teeth on you, because that's really the most dangerous part of the dog. So.
Remember?
And so sometimes dogs do bite and won't let go. A lot of times you'll see videos of this with bully breeds, and it's, I don't want to blame the breed, how they were bred. They were bred for bull baiting. So they were bred to not back down. And so that's kind of where this comes from. And that's why you see a lot of these bully breeds. But this is a good example of what you should do in that kind of situation.
I remember the situation. I remember.
So it has latched on. It does not want to let go.
Kitchen part of the house.
This guy chokes the dog out.
Or JP was
gives them time to get away.
So what you're seeing
I don't
in
even know
this
if it was
clip is,
that or
it looks like a
yeah.
bulldog type of breed.
But
Everybody and their
later,
mom's
sounds-
coming in to help, but the
I
only
will.
thing that made that dog let go is a straight up rear naked choke, like they would do MMA style.
Big dogs.
The dog goes limp due to a lack of oxygen of blood flow to the brain, and then it's like hitting the reset button. This is exactly what
Oh,
you
wait,
need
it
to
says-
do when you have a power breed. Ideally, we're gonna go ahead and use a leash and or a collar to
see how
get
black-
off that oxygen. Now, the reason the dog stayed holding on is because if he had let go any sooner, the dog would have absolutely re-engaged and bit the person again or anybody else. You gotta do what you gotta do when you or one of your loved ones is getting attacked or followed by a big badass dog. That's
And there was a video that I really wanted to show, but it, for whatever reason, it wouldn't embed into PowerPoint. So this one is another example of a dog that doesn't let go, and pay attention to how many different things people are trying. So you'll see people pulling, yelling. This person in this jacket has the dog that's biting lifted in the air and it's still not letting go. Someone off to the right comes in with a water bottle or something else that might be in there. There's someone with a broom. And it's still just not letting go. And so that's why. And there are a lot of other videos you can see online. The one I wanted to show was a couple dogs that were really locked together. And police officers came in with pepper spray and doused both dogs in the face with pepper spray, and they still would not let go. So if it really comes to it, don't forget, it's not fun. No one wants to choke out a dog, but if you have to, that's an option. So when it bites and doesn't let go, don't pull away. Kind of think of those Chinese finger traps. When you pull, it just makes it worse. If you push together, or if you push further into the dog's mouth, sometimes that can trigger a release, because it kind of gags them a little bit. Or it also, prevents more damage. So when you pull, there's more damage to whatever is in the dog's mouth, whether it's you or another dog. Whereas if you push in, it kind of prevents more of that damage. If the dog does finally let go, as I mentioned, be ready for potential redirection or re-engagement. So you want to make sure you have that dog's movements restricted, particularly its head and neck. And if you have a leash or a collar, even if it's your own dog's, that you have to take off your dog to use on the aggressor, do that. Or again, possibly even pinning the dog down using your body weight and your arm over its neck and base of its head to keep it still. So now after the incident, definitely go to the hospital. You don't want to play around with rabies or other infections and injuries. If your dog was involved, again, don't play around with rabies or other infections and injuries. Call authorities, report the incident, police, sheriff, animal control. If you don't have a dog, you might still want to alert local veterinarians. They often have they hold some weight in their authority as well when dealing with other entities that might not be as responsive as we would like. And just give as many descriptions as possible of the dog, the location, any other facts you might know, like what direction it came from, if it came out of a specific yard, if you absolutely know for sure who the owners are, if this dog has been causing problems before, if it had been rummaging around, if it's hungry and trying to find food, anything that might indicate a motive or something. And unfortunately, the society we live in, we all have responsibilities, even if we don't have a dog, even if we're not the ones with the aggressive dogs. As a bystander, have some situational awareness, understand some dog body language, even at a basic level, just looking for those whale eyes, the hard stares, the tense bodies, the lip licks. Respect dogs' boundaries in space. Try not to put your face into a dog's face, no matter how cute they are. Educate children, take preventative measures and be prepared, you know, carry some of those deterrents, take a walk around your neighborhood, see what options you might have. Like, oh, this neighbor has a nice fenced in yard that's not latched. They don't have a dog. I could get in there. And include your children and grandchildren if you have any in on that. Let them know what to do in these situations. As dog owners, you have all of these bystander responsibilities. Plus, probably you should have a deeper understanding of dogs and particularly your own specific dog. And it's okay to have reactive dogs. It really is. I've had several of my own. Management and safety precautions are key. You know, make sure they have a very well-fitting harness and leash, muzzle if you need to. Make sure your yard is secure. Seek professional help. Dog trainers, veterinary behaviorists, get your dog checked out by a vet, make sure they aren't in pain or have other neurological issues that could cause them to lash out on people. And various signage. I have signs around my house, my yard, letting people know, hey, dogs live here. And also you can use leash sleeves, little patches on their harnesses that say, hey, this dog is nervous, don't approach. Hey, this dog is dog reactive. And that can give people a heads up several feet or tens of feet away before an altercation happens. It gives them a chance to move to the other side of the street and stuff like that. And we can all push for change. Sorry, mailman's here. My German Shepherd is doing her thing. Ella, push for change if, you know, a lot of us see dogs that are constantly chained up, dogs that are being abused and neglected, things like that. So definitely, you can take part in that as well. So last one on that note of bystander and dog owner. So this is the supposed dog owner. These people are in the party. These two ladies are from my understanding of the video, they are strangers. So I'm gonna let you watch this. I'm gonna go subdue my German Shepherd real quick. It's a little bit longer. It's a couple minutes. So take note and let me know what you might do differently on both ends. Hey. Hey. It's okay. Let him do his job. Yeah, let him do his job. Good girl, you did your job. So, any thoughts on what you would do differently if you were the bystander? You're muted, Luann. Here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I missed what suddenly changed the dog's attitude. Because it seemed like everything was fine for a long period of time. And so I did miss what suddenly made the dog lunge at the woman.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's hard to tell because the video is so grainy and we can't see the dog's facial expressions and stuff like that. It's always, even with my own dogs, I do what I call the 3-second rule. I will pet them for 3 seconds and I'll stop. And it's basically asking them like, hey, do you want more or are you done? And actually a lot more often than you would think, they actually walk away. They're actually done. And so they just are constantly on this dog.
Oh, okay.
They're in the dog's face, even if the dog is confident and it seems like it's okay. It could be kind of a buildup of that stress. It's like, hey, I'm really not comfortable in this. I'll let it happen. And then they continuously are hovering over the dog. They're in the dog's face for extended periods of time. And it just gets to a boiling point. And unfortunately, some dogs are inadvertently or yeah, I guess inadvertently taught not to show those signs. Like they get punished for growling when I love a dog that growls because it's saying, hey, I'm not comfortable. And so then I can back up and be like, okay, I'll give you space. And then it's fine. Um, it's it's really hard with dogs who have been taught not to growl or show other signs of being uncomfortable. So yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah. And then as the owner, what would you do differently?
I would probably have him on a leash inside that dining area.
So he might, I don't know, I might have missed it. He might actually be on a,
Oh, he's dragging it around.
yeah. So it's kind of
He's
long.
got it on him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's fully hooked to anything. I think it was because I think at the very end, she actually gets up. She actually leaves. She just totally leaves with the dog. And so what I would do as the dog owner is I would stick up for my dog a little bit more, knowing that dogs don't like to be overcrowded like that. I would say, okay, hey, I think he's had enough. You might want to, you know, back off, or I would physically move my dog closer to me, and stop that engagement a lot sooner. Um, so. And that's pretty much all I had prepared for you guys. Anyone have any questions?
Well, and I have a question, and I know this probably isn't an answer because you're watching videos, but how much of this do we think is due to the dog being unsocialized? The aggression?
It can have a lot. Socialization is really important. And socialization isn't a lot of times people will think socialization means play, particularly with other dogs. And that's not the case at all. The case for socialization is that you want your dog as early in life as possible. They say the critical period is between 3 and 12 weeks of age, for them to have as many good experiences with people and dogs as possible. Letting them learn dog body language, how to communicate with other dogs, dogs that are isolated and you know kept in the backyard or on a chain don't always get that. So yeah, socialization can pretty important. Another myth is to just let dogs figure it out. Especially if you have a dog that's coming from a shelter, that you don't know its back history, you don't know how many good experiences it's had with other people and dogs. Introducing them to other dogs and people in a way that is a good experience and builds their confidence, and you kind of be the manager of those events and say, hey, this is the boundary, and teach them how to interact. And it can be a bit more tricky with dogs. It's hard to find a very well socialized dog that understands body language and isn't going to go on the offensive right away. So it can be tricky, but it can be possible to at least desensitize them a little bit so that they're not just on the offensive every time they see a dog. You know, kind of teach them how to slow down, sniff, and feel confident and okay and not need to chase after other dogs. I've gone through it with my rescues. And they might surprise you. We actually recently just learned that our German Shepherd, she's more reactive when there's a barrier. If she's on a leash and she can't move 100% freely, if she's behind a door or a fence, that's when she's more likely to be reactive and show what we perceive as an ugly side. But when she's totally free in the yard, we just brought in a foster dog. We were worried about her being mean, but she paid him no attention. She just wanted her ball. She just wanted to chase her ball. And so we took the muzzle off right away and she was fine. And then she actually invited him to play. So it was really awesome. So yeah, they're really smart. And I think they do have some level of innate understanding of what it is to be a dog. They understand what a glance looks like, what a glance means, what different tail movements mean, things like that. So, but yeah, socialization can be really important.
But it's never too late to do socialization.
No, it just gets harder because as the dog gets older, they have a lot more experiences that are influencing their current behavior. So if a dog has a lot of bad experiences, then it can influence it, but it's not too late. Like our German Shepherd, we rescued her last year. It's been pretty much exactly a year. And she's probably about 5, not really sure. She was actually supposed to be euthanized because she and a second German Shepherd viciously attacked a third one. And it resulted in severe injury requiring surgery. The other dog survived, but she fell through the cracks. The other aggressor had been put down, but she somehow fell through the cracks and we ended up with her. And she's come such a long way. And they estimated she was about 4 years old when we got her. So again, what was her situation? She wasn't spayed. I assume the other two were not as well. Did that play a part in it? Were they neglected to the point of being really hungry and they were fighting over food? I don't know. It's hard to know.
But there still could have been the pack mentality. The one dog started and the other dog joined in.
It very well could have been, yeah. So it's hard to know, but she has come a long way. She is able to assimilate into our house. We have a pit American Bulldog mix, and we had a Rottweiler at the time. It didn't take very long, and they were her brothers. They were a pack. And now with this foster dog, it was like 2 days. We had him for like a night or two, and we were able to safely introduce them in our backyard. So it's definitely possible. And even when you have like food aggression, she showed some bossiness around food. We were able to help her set that boundary and the expectation that no, we don't fight over food. Food is abundant, like you're fine, everything's gonna be okay. So yeah, you can absolutely teach old dogs how to behave. Yeah.
Well, and I've got a little black one that is, I always say he thinks he's 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but I think it's starting to cause some problems. And so I really think I need to start figuring out how to get him more social skills. You know, when we travel, he wants to just bark and raise cane, but then as soon as somebody comes up to him, he just melts and wants to be petted. But this whole attitude that he's starting to get at the start, I would like to fix.
Yeah.
So you and I will be talking more.
Okay.
Well,
But I didn't really.
Sorry. So, is there another question? Corbly, I think you're muted. Let me see.
Yeah.
Would it be all right if I ask you what you thought about my dog attack experience? About what I could have done when this occurred.
It's hard to say. I don't know all the details of the environment you were in.
I mean, can I tell you real briefly and tell you
Sure.
what I did and then what I probably maybe should have done after watching this?
Sure.
Yeah, I was walking my 14-year-old service dog to the plaza, and as I was coming across the street to the plaza, I saw a pit bull on the opposite side of the plaza in a very predatory stance, and I immediately turned away to walk away because I thought maybe I saw that the dog had noticed. Okay. But I thought maybe he would lose interest or something if I wasn't coming there with my dog in his face or whatever. So I turned, and a moment later, he had my dog on the ground, gnawing on him at the neck. And my dog was completely non-reactive. He didn't do anything at all. But I was trying to pull the dog off of my dog and fell. I was screaming all the while. So finally, someone did come. Okay. And two young men, and they got the dog off. Even after that, waiting for the police, et cetera, and the non-existent animal control, they had to take the dog around the corner because the dog persisted in wanting to be aggressive towards my dog, even though it was far away. And so my feeling was that the dog was a trained, fighting dog, but Jan Gribble said it was just the breed, and that's because of poor breeding or whatever. But I mean, should I have just, as soon as I saw that dog, it was clear across the park, should I have just stood there and maybe made a loud noise and been more aggressive? I mean, I don't know what. And then about hitting the dog. I mean, I live this over in my mind a lot. So if I had hit the dog or something like that you're suggesting, I was afraid to do anything in that way because I thought I would make the dog more aggressive if I did anything of that nature. That's why I didn't want to confront the dog even, because I thought that would make him be aggressive. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. First, it definitely does happen, probably more often than we would like to know, that dogs used for fighting get mixed in with the general population. So unfortunately, that could be a very real possibility. Um, yeah, I think possibly when you turned your back and walked away, it made you guys a lot more vulnerable, and it made
That's
you
what I'm thinking.
easier prey. Where possibly if you had just stopped and maybe walked parallel, like keeping, an eye so it knew that you saw it.
Oh, I know. He turned towards me the minute I saw that dog, and he saw me. I saw it turning towards me, and that's when I turned.
Yeah. So you might have even that tiny, you probably just walked away, not super frantic at that point. But that might have just triggered that response, that chase response. And yeah, so maybe if you had stood your ground, maybe if you had one of those deterrents on you, like the stun gun, and you saw him coming and you could have used it.
I carry that now, but I don't walk my dog very often ever because almost every single time I encounter a loose dog, whether I don't know how effective what I'm carrying actually is. And so I just am really terrified.
Yeah, and that's hard. That's a trauma that's really hard to overcome. My experience has been that every time I've held my ground, it's been all right. I have on occasion had dogs still approach, even though I came in between the dog that I was with and the approaching dog. Sometimes that will deter a dog, you coming in between. And also if you have a reactive dog, it can help them kind of sit on the back end and be like, okay, mom has it, I don't need to do anything. And then using those loud sounds like go away, back up, that's worked for me. I know other people have said that they've used those sprays and that has worked. The stun gun, even just the sound seems to be pretty effective. Probably not 100%, but probably 9 times out of 10, if you have that stun gun, it's gonna go better than if you didn't have it. So yeah, it's great to want to learn from that experience and know what to do moving forward. But I think you're also absolutely right that if you had tried to hit the dog or intervened, you might have triggered it to turn on you. And so yelling for help in that situation was a good thing to do. If you and if it had a collar, or you were able to get your dog's leash off, use that to kind of try to choke out the biting dog, and hold it kind of away from you as much as you can. But again, it can be really scary, and you're not sure if you want to actually even go near that dog's head, while it's even latched onto something else.
Well, he was laying on my dog, gnawing on my dog. So there was I was bitten trying to pull.
Yeah.
He didn't, it was inadvertently. He didn't bite me. I just got my hand in the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did have thank God, because I don't know, it had a solid, wonderful collar on this dog. That was the only saving grace.
Yeah, and so when they have a collar, you don't want to just grab the collar and lift up. You actually want to kind of twist it so it tightens and there's not much space left between the collar. You
Well, I
want to
ended up on the ground real quick, so that
yeah.
was just whatever. Right.
Yeah, and I know some of these videos, it's very tough situations. It's hard to know what to do, or even have resources that are available. Because I think I've seen pictures of your dog, and my guess is you can't pick him up very easily. So you wouldn't have been able to put him in a garbage can or something like
No,
that.
he's 70 pounds.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
yeah, it can be really tough. So
But
these
I
things,
might have had a better chance if I had chosen to to stand my ground rather than to turn. And is that right?
I believe so. That would
Okay.
be if I ever see a loose dog, I don't really turn my back, unless, especially if it can take practice reading dogs' body language. Some dogs I can tell they're just kind of out and about and,
This dog was not
ending.
out and about. This dog, the moment I saw it, was in a very predatory stance
Yeah, once they like
and
lock eye contact.
looking for trouble, big
Yeah,
time.
once they make eye contact and they're locked eyes and they're standing really stiff and really intent, I don't really back away. If I keep moving, it's either parallel to them, keeping them, they know that I see them, or I just stand my ground and wait. Um, a lot of times dogs aren't, how do I word this? They're not patient, I guess. We tend to be less patient. We tend to process things and make decisions faster. But a lot of times if you just wait even 2, 3, 5 minutes, they tend to just back off. They're like, okay, I'm not getting what I want. Now if it truly was a dog used in dog fighting, it might not have quite as easily. But possibly if you had just stood facing it and stood your ground, put yourself between it and Finn, then it could have given you time to yell for help sooner. And that's okay too. Call people for help even if the dog hasn't actively attacked yet. Say, hey,
Right.
I'm going to need help, or I need help getting this dog.
There was no one in the park at that time. So yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. So
Okay, well now I'm carrying, the doctor at the emergency room suggested this canned air stuff that you buy. It's for supposedly used for training and as a repellent. And it's kind of expensive, and it turned out to essentially be canned air. And I don't know how effective that is. It's great for cats, of course, but you said the sound, I thought, well, maybe that's it, but I don't feel confident carrying it. And also I'm thinking I'll buy a can of canned air at Walmart because would be cheaper than that stuff. But I mean, what do you think about that stuff? Or should I get like bear spray or something? Or that
yeah.
thing, the stun gun thing? Because I just don't feel safe at all.
Yeah. If you feel really unsafe and it makes you feel better and more confident to carry those higher level of deterrence, then absolutely do that. Carry a stun guns, or even a stun gun baton or the bear spray or both. If
Corby, the one thing about the bear spray is it will shoot 25 feet away.
Right. That's
Before
the
they
thing
even
I'm
get
thinking
you.
about.
Versus I have both pepper spray and a bear spray, but
they
the bear
make
spray shoots far.
They make some that are specific for dogs. So it's called Pet Safe, and it's a citronella spray, so it's not as irritating as the pepper spray based ones. And then they have one called Halt, and that one is more of a pepper spray based spray. And I think those ones don't go quite as far. They might be like 10 to 12 feet spray distance. But just again, with those, especially the pepper spray based ones, just be aware of where your dog is
Your dog
in that crossfire. But yeah, I would say it's totally okay if you feel safer using those stronger deterrents right off the bat. Like, don't even give them a chance with the loud vocal verbiage that you can give, or from the air horn or something like that. If you feel you have better chances just right off the bat using those higher end ones, then do so.
Now, how effective do you think the air horn is? I mean, I'd rather like carry something like that or a loud noise thing versus bear spray. I mean, even the hissing thing, if I felt relatively confident that actually does work, I mean, I know it works on cats. I don't know that it works on dogs. I haven't, when I've done it in my yard, I hadn't noticed my dog reacting to it in any way. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I hate I hate to recommend just going out and finding a loose dog and trying it.
Well, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, I just want to know that I have what I have is going to be sufficient, but I don't want to like carry lethal things around. I mean, I don't like having to carry anything around. Just the idea of it is just so distressing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Just, the day and age we live in, unfortunately, this is a problem. And unfortunately, as people who either don't have dogs or were responsible dog owners, we still have to do our part to keep ourselves safe. And that, unfortunately, at the moment is carrying these things. So
I have a personal protection sound thing. Would that be the same thing as a bullhorn? Would that maybe be effective? And I mean, that
it
was not
might.
for dogs.
Yeah, it might. Anything that kind of catches them off guard, anything that surprises them, anything that they probably haven't heard much before. And their sense of hearing is really strong. So things that don't sound, or things that sound loud to us sound extremely loud to them.
I know I don't want to hurt my dog.
Yeah. So yeah,
All right.
it can be kind of tricky, but from some I dug through a ton of videos yesterday, and that I can find that biker guy's channel and send it to you. He has a lot. I think he records almost every bike ride he goes on. And there are instances where he uses the air horn and the dogs stay in their yard. There was one that I saw. It was a healer that he used the air horn, but it still chased him, but it was more running with him rather than at him, and just barking up a storm. So it seemed like some dogs responded more than others. But I do think that the people who do use those deterrents, in the videos I saw,
Are
they
successful.
they had more success. They had less bites. Like, yes, it was still a scary interaction, but the interaction didn't escalate quite as much as with the people who did not have any kind of deterrent on them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. One last thing.
Always have lots of questions after I digest the whole thing. So
And like I said, I'll make sure this video, it was recorded, so I'll make sure that it's available to all of you. I think you all have I have your emails, so I'll send it there to you guys as well, and on Facebook and stuff like that, so other people can see. One last thing, how many people are still here? 4 of you?
Yeah.
Okay. So for coming live, I'm gonna give you your choice. So if you want this one's the citronella based spray. a dog air horn, and then the stun gun. I think it has, yeah, it's rechargeable and a flashlight. So all similarly priced. So I'll start with, we'll start at the bottom of what is on my screen. So Kelly, which one would you like?
The dog horn.
Dog horn? Let me write this down.
I know my sister-in-law, she walks out by Immertech. She doesn't have a dog anymore, but she carries one for the coyotes.
Ah, yeah.
And says it does tend to run them off, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like all of this. So coyotes, they're not directly related to dogs, but they are canines. But I imagine that this will also work for other things like bobcats or probably even a mountain lion. Just something that's really startling. They tend to, unfamiliar things, tend to scare things off pretty well. So Luann, which one would you like?
Gee. That's the I think the spray, the citronella spray. There's a part of me that can't decide between something a little less evasive and the stun gun, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I'll get you one and you can get yourself the other.
Okay.
Then you can choose how you feel that day before you leave the house. And Corbly, you're muted.
I think I would go for the stun gun thing.
Okay.
It seems multifunctional as well.
Yeah. And Amy.
From Amy.
I'm sorry?
Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I really don't get out walking much, so I would like to donate mine.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Do you know which one and to who you might want to?
Whichever one, I believe it was it Corbly that had the terrible experience.
Yeah.
Okay, whichever they would like.
Okay, well, that would just be end up giving me two things. Maybe you could give it to APAS and then they could, I don't know, even auction it off when they do their fundraising, whatever.
Okay. Any thoughts, Kelly or Luann?
As the treasurer, it's like, oh my God, it's more bookwork. Oh.
Well, maybe APAS can keep it, and if we have somebody that, again, has an issue with
Like Corbly
being attacked like she was, then we can see if they were interested in having it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say maybe the spray at that point.
The spray. Okay.
Yeah. Because I bought spray, so.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks again for watching live and for participating. I hope it was useful and you got something out of it. You feel free to send me feedback as you're thinking on it. If I did or didn't cover something that was or was not useful, ways I could make it better, let me know. So.
Well, thank you so very much. It was really very interesting. I did enjoy it.
I really needed this. I'm so glad you presented this.
Thank you. So, all right, I'm gonna stop it, let you guys get back to your, what day is today? Saturday? Let you get back to your Saturday and
have a good day, everybody.
Thanks.
And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.